Imagine the scene. The lights are dimmed inside the massive, echoing Olympic arena. The air is freezing, charged with the residual electricity of weeks of grueling, heartbreaking, and triumphant competition. What LIU just did at the Olympic Gala exhibition was not just a stunning performance. It was a seismic shockwave that completely shattered the deeply entrenched traditions of the figure skating world. Her neck, LIU returned to the cold Olympic ice for one final bow. But she did not just return as a participant. She returned to receive the ultimate honor this sport can bestow upon an athlete. She was selected by the organizers to be the final performer of the entire Olympic Gala. Now you have to understand what the Gala is. On this magical night, over 40 of the greatest skaters on the planet performed under the spotlight. We are talking about the undisputed men's gold medalist. We are talking about the pairs champions whose dangerous acrobatics defy gravity. We are talking about the ice dance legends and all the medalists from every single discipline. A gathering of absolute titans, and yet among all these living legends, LIU was chosen to be the final performer. She was chosen to be the very last person to let the steel blades of her skates touch the Olympic ice before the arena went dark, the crowds dispersed, and everyone flew back to their respective corners of the globe. This placement in the program is not just a blind tradition. It is a profound recognition of star power and cultural impact. She was the one athlete that everyone in the building and millions watching through their screens at home desperately wanted to see close out the Winter Games. But what she chose to do with that immense honor, with the eyes of the entire world fixed directly upon her, left the traditional figure skating establishment in a state of absolute, undeniable shock. Figure skating is a beautiful sport, but it is also a sport rigidly bound by centuries-old traditions. It is an environment governed by strict, unwritten rules, classical sensibilities, and an expectation of extreme, almost stoic perfection. When you are an Olympic champion, you are expected to conform. You are expected to glide out onto the ice to the soaring strings of a Beethoven symphony, a melancholic piano piece by Chopin, or perhaps a sweeping traditional, dramatic ballad. You are supposed to be serious, reserved, and classical. LIU did not do what Olympic champions are supposed to do. She completely ripped up the rulebook. Instead of a classical masterpiece, the arena speakers suddenly blasted the opening beats of Stateside, a relentlessly upbeat, viral pop anthem by Pink Pantheress and Zara Larsson. This was pure, unapologetic Gen Z music, a track that had been dominating viral trends, taking over TikTok, and living in the headphones of millions of teenagers around the world for months. When ALYSA stepped into the spotlight, she looked like a rebellious ice princess. She wore a stunning, bedazzled dark blue dress that sparkled brilliantly under the arena lights, perfectly paired with a matching choker necklace. She had striped halo hair and a smiley piercing that flashed every time she beamed at the crowd. But the real shock was not just her appearance, it was how she moved. She did not skate like an athlete trapped in the pressure cooker of a global competition. She skated like she was in the front row of a sold-out pop concert, just hanging out and dancing with her best friends. Her choreography was a burst of high energy. It was flirty, it was fun, it was incredibly fast-paced, and it was entirely carefree. There was no anxiety in her shoulders, no fear in her eyes. The entire arena, packed with thousands of fans, athletes, and coaches, literally started dancing in their seats. This was not a stiff, hyper-serious Olympic procession. This was LIU, single-handedly transforming the prestigious Olympic Gala into a massive, joyous celebration of youth and artistic freedom. Naturally, the internet absolutely exploded. NBC Olympics immediately posted the video clip of her routine to their millions of followers, captioning it, "The sparkle and glow in LIU's Gala skate." Within mere hours, that video became a digital wildfire. It completely took over the algorithms on TikTok. It dominated the trending topics on Twitter, and it flooded Instagram feeds globally, racking up millions upon millions of views. People simply could not believe what they were witnessing. A freshly crowned Olympic gold medalist was closing the Winter Games to the fast-paced, drum and bass-inspired beats of Pink Pantheress. It was the furthest thing from traditional figure skating music. It was not what the judges expected. It was not what the commentators expected. But to those who truly know her journey, it was exactly what LIU does best. She disrupts the system by simply being herself. To fully grasp the emotional weight of this viral celebration, we have to look back at the darkness she had to fight through to get back to this ice. The world of elite figure skating can be a dark, punishing place. The relentless pursuit of perfection, the intense media scrutiny, and the grueling physical demands can break even the strongest of spirits. And for a while, it almost broke ALYSA. Following the Beijing 2022 Olympics, at the incredibly young age of 16, she made a decision that shocked the sports world. She announced her retirement. She walked away from the only life she had ever known. Why did she leave? Because she was utterly burned out. She had come to resent the extreme pressure. She hated what the sport had become, a machine that prioritizes medals over the mental health and happiness of its young athletes. She walked away to save herself. But true champions never truly lose their fire. 2 years later, the ice called her back. However, this time, things were going to be radically different. She returned to the competitive arena with one unbreakable, non-negotiable rule. No one, absolutely no one, tells me what to do anymore. She demanded and secured complete creative control over every single aspect of her career. She picked her own music, she designed her own costumes, she carefully selected her own coaches. Her new coaching team understood her vision perfectly. As her coach famously told the press, ALYSA was not coming back to chase a piece of metal. She was not here to obsess over winning. She came back simply to skate, to feel the wind in her face, and to genuinely enjoy the sport she fell in love with as a child. And in a beautiful twist of fate, by letting go of the desperate need to win, she became invincible. She won the 2025 World Championships. Then she arrived at the Olympics and won the ultimate prize, the Olympic gold medal. She did it entirely on her own terms, completely her own way. And then she closed those very Olympics with the most viral, talked-about performance of the entire 2-week event. But if you thought the story ended there, you are mistaken. Here is the part of the narrative that makes this entire event feel like a movie script. Pink Pantheress herself was watching. Earlier in the week, before the gala even took place, prominent sports reporter Raymond Braun sat down with ALYSA for an interview. During their chat, he surprised her by pulling out a video. It was a personal, direct message recorded specifically for her by Pink Pantheress. The pop star's exact words were incredibly touching. Looking directly into the camera, Pink Pantheress said, "ALYSA, lots of love. Thank you so much for supporting me. I hope that you have a really good show. You are so inspiring. And when I was younger, I was obsessed with figure skaters. So you are literally living my dream. Thank you so much for the love." Pink Pantheress is currently one of the biggest, most influential musical artists on the planet, streaming to millions of listeners daily. And here she was, telling a young Olympic figure skater that the skater was the one living out the pop star's childhood dream. ALYSA's reaction to the video was pure, unfiltered joy. Her face lit up with the kind of genuine excitement you rarely see in highly media-trained athletes. She immediately declared that Pink Pantheress was her absolute favorite artist in the world. And right then and there, she made a promise. She said that if she was selected to perform at the Olympic Gala, she was going to skate to the song stateside. She made a promise, and she delivered. 2 days later, trusted with the responsibility of closing the biggest sporting event on Earth, she stepped out onto the ice and skated to her favorite artist's song, fueled by the personal message of support she had just received. But the incredible pop culture crossover did not stop with Pink Pantheress. Zara Larsson, the global pop sensation who is featured prominently on the stateside remix, also caught wind of what was happening. Zara posted a video to her own social media channels showing herself sitting in a living room, surrounded by her friends. The video captured their real-time, jaw-dropping reaction as they watched the newly crowned Olympic champion performing a high-speed, flawless ice routine to their very own song on international television. 2 massive, chart-topping recording artists were both actively watching, reacting to, and celebrating an Olympic figure skater performing to their music at the Winter Games. This is a phenomenon that has quite literally never happened before in the long storied history of figure skating. Usually the music used in this sport is so old that the composers have been dead for centuries. Olympic champions do not typically skate to viral TikTok anthems at the gala, and global pop stars do not usually sit on their couches filming their reactions to figure skating events. This unprecedented crossover between elite, high-stakes athletic competition and modern Gen Z pop culture is entirely unique to LIU. And the most beautiful part of it all is that she is doing it effortlessly, simply by being completely, unapologetically herself. When you strip away the striped halo hair, the dark blue bedazzled dress, and the viral pop music, what was left on the ice that night was a masterclass in pure artistic freedom. Because it was the gala. She was not performing for a panel of stone-faced judges. There were no technical scores to worry about. There were no point deductions for a misplaced edge or a slight bobble. There were no medals on the line. She used that absolute freedom to show the entire world what figure skating is supposed to look like when you strip away the toxicity and do it purely for joy, not out of pressure, not to meet the crushing expectations of a national federation, but simply because you love the feeling of gliding across the ice. The packed crowd loved every single second of it, and the internet simply could not stop talking about it. Because what LIU did at that gala was not just an entertaining piece of television. It was a massive, defiant statement. Just 2 days before this joyful exhibition, LIU had to prove herself in the ultimate crucible of the women's free skate. To win that Olympic gold, she took to the ice wearing a shimmering, breathtaking gold dress. Even during the highly stressful warm-up period, where most athletes look physically ill with anxiety, ALYSA was smiling. She looked as relaxed as if she were simply skating at a local holiday exhibition. When her competitive music started, a bold choice of Donna Summer's MacArthur Park Suite, she was flawless. She landed an incredible 7 triple jumps with a lightness that made it look easy. She floated across the ice with a commanding presence. By the time she hit her final pose, the entire crowd was already on their feet, roaring in approval. When the judges' scores were finally revealed, the number flashed across the arena screens, 150.2. It was a massive number. It was the highest women's free skate score recorded anywhere in the world that entire season. With that singular, monumental performance, she vaulted all the way from 3rd place after the short program to capture 1st place overall, narrowly edging out Japan's brilliant Kaori Sakamoto by a razor-thin margin of less than 2 points. But this victory meant so much more than just a personal triumph. With that gold medal, ALYSA Liu became the first American woman to win Olympic gold in figure skating since Sarah Hughes achieved the feat all the way back in 2002. She single-handedly ended a devastating 24-year drought for American women's figure skating, and the sweetest part of the victory was that she did it completely on her own terms. That 24-year drought was not just a statistic about missing medals. It was a dark cloud that represented the immense pressure, the crushing expectations, and a fundamentally broken system that was chewing up young athletes and spitting them out. ALYSA Liu ended that drought, but she did not end it by bowing down and conforming to that punishing system. She ended it by rejecting the system outright. She proved that the old way of doing things was not the only way to win. And then, having conquered the world, she decided to celebrate. She celebrated by throwing a party on the Olympic ice, skating to Gen Z pop music in a bedazzled blue dress, while her favorite musical artists watched and cheered her on from afar. That was the true statement of the night. She proved to a whole new generation of athletes that you can win gold, you can be the absolute best in the world, and you can still have fun. You can be a fierce, unstoppable champion, and you do not have to sacrifice your personality or your happiness to do it. Today, the Gala performance clip has tens of millions of views and counting. Pink Pantheress and Zara Larsson have both publicly reacted and validated the moment. Hardcore, traditional figure skating fans and young pop music fans are suddenly talking to each other, united by this one incredible performance. This is exactly what happens when you finally let athletes be human beings. This is what happens when you allow them to be themselves, rather than forcing them into an outdated, suffocating mold. This is what happens when pure joy becomes the ultimate goal, rather than just the cold pursuit of medals. ALYSA Liu did not just win an Olympic gold medal this week. She fundamentally changed what an Olympic champion is allowed to look like. She changed what they are allowed to skate to. She changed how they are allowed to celebrate their victories. And she did it all with a massive, radiant smile on her face. This is the girl who hated figure skating so much that she walked away from it completely. Now she is the reigning Olympic champion who closed the games with Pink Pantheress playing over the loudspeakers, her idols watching her every move, and millions of people celebrating her spirit. She proved once and for all that you do not need to break yourself to be a champion. You can achieve greatness with joy in your heart, and you can change your sport forever in the process. So, I have to ask you, do you think ALYSA Liu is changing the landscape of figure skating forever? Should more athletes break tradition and perform to the music they actually listen to and love? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. We love reading your thoughts. And please, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we are going to be covering the World Championships in March, where ALYSA Liu will be taking the ice once again to defend her title. The girl who skated to Pink Pantheress at the Winter Olympics just showed the entire world that, in the end, joy always wins, and her incredible journey is far from over.